Welcome back to Wargames Battle Reports. Got another old world game today against Michael. This time it's Warriors of Chaos and the Tomb Kings, 2,000 points. It's the first game with this new Tomb Kings army, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. We're set up for a drawn battle lines game with 4 strategic locations. Do you want to just go over the Tomb Kings deployment?
So I've got a Necrosphinx. We've got 10 skeleton horsemen. They've got countercharge. We've got a block of Tomb Guard with halberds. They've got a Necrotech with them. They haven't got any extra special rules, they're just book standard. In the centre, we've got a big block of 49 skeleton warriors with a detachment of 20 archers. We've got a battle standard in the big block. The banner in the unit's got the war banner, and this guy's got the amulet of the serpent, giving all of these poisoned attacks. I've got a level 4 priest with hieratic jar and ruby ring. And then on the side, we've got 3 chariots with command. And then to finish off, I've got my Tomb King on Bone Dragon. He's just got a Sword of Might, Talisman of Protection, and Paymaster's Coin.
On the Warriors of Chaos side, the Warhounds have vanguarded up. Got Chaos Chariot, Giant Spawn of Tzeentch, a big block of Marauders. The Warriors of Chaos with Sorcerer Lord in there. Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, Dragon Ogre Shartak, the Prince of Tzeentch, and on this side, the Forsaken of Slaanesh. For the full list, you can pause here. For spells, the Leash Priest got Deathly Cabal, Unquiet Spirits, Spiritual Vortex, and Curse of Years. The Prince has the Summoning, Demonic Familiars, Demonic Vessel, and Vortex of Chaos. The Sorcerer didn't roll Battle Lust, so swapped its entire roll using Tomb of the Dark Gods, giving him Blue Fire, Fleshy Abundance, Wind of Chaos, and Doombolt. Turn 1 Warriors of Chaos movement. The Warhounds marched up here in the face of the Tomb Dragon. Everything else pretty much moved up in the centre. Tried to cast Fleshy Abundance on this unit, but it failed. And the Forsaken have moved up this flank, hopefully just outside charge range of the Tomb Kings over here. End of Warriors of Chaos turn 1. Tried to cast Doombolt over here, but it got dispelled. And the Prince has cast a Vortex of Chaos in front of the Forsaken. Tomb King's turn 1 movement. Made a charge over here, but took a wound going through the Vortex on the way in. Had tried to dispel it, but couldn't. Moved up here into range of this objective. The Necrotech tried to use Eternal Taskmaster, but it didn't pass, even with the BSB nearby. The Leash Priest attempted Deathly Cabal, but it was dispelled. And over here, the Chariots made a long charge into the spawn, but with the distance they rolled and needing to wheel, they weren't able to maximise, so they're just touching corner to corner. Tomb King shooting, cast a Spiritual Vortex down here. Then the Archers and Fireball from Ruby Ring each killed 2 Marauders. Over in the far corner, the Dragon used its breath weapon against the Warhounds, killing 2 of them and making the rest of the unit flee off the edge of the board. End of Tomb King's turn 1. The Chariots only managed to do 1 wound to the spawn. Then the spawn rolled quite well for its stomp attacks and then crumbled the rest of the unit. It then overran and ended up charging into the big block of skeletons. Over here, the Necrosphinx only did 2 wounds to the Forsaken after they managed to pass a few of their ward saves, and the Necrosphinx took 1 wound in return. The Forsaken fell back in good order, and the Necrosphinx has followed up back into them. Warriors of Chaos turn 2. Cast Fleshy Abundance onto the warriors, and cast Wind of Chaos onto the Tomb Guard, reducing their movement by 2. Failed to dispel the spiritual vortex. Most of the units have moved up in the centre and cautiously moved up with the chariot here, trying to keep out of line of sight of the Bone Dragon. Over here, tried to cast Demonic Vessel on the Prince as well, but that failed. Shooting, targeted the Archer unit with the Priest with magic missiles. Doombolt, Blue Fire, and the Summoning got dispelled or failed to cast, but killed 3 with the Ruby Ring. The Prince had also ended the Vortex of Chaos so it could try and put it somewhere else, but failed to cast it again. Combat, the Spawn killed 5 and took 2 wounds in return and has given ground as it's unbreakable. Over on this flank, the Necrosphinx finished off the Forsaken and has reformed facing this way. Tomb King's turn 2 movement charged the Necrosphinx into the Dragon Ogre. The Priest managed to dispel Fleshy Abundance that was on the warriors and has cast Deathly Cabal on himself and the archers. Tried to cast Curse of Years on the Marauders, but didn't roll enough. And here, all the skeletons have been brought back with a rise. Tomb King shooting. Ruby Ring and bows from the archers shot at the Marauders, killing 6 of them, but they've passed their panic test. Attempted Unquiet Spirits as well, but then actually miscast and killed 4 of his own archers and took a wound from the explosion as well. End of the Tomb King's turn. The Necrosphinx killed the Dragon Ogre. The Dragon Ogre had caused 2 wounds, but they were both regened. And then the Sphinx has overrun into the Prince, but it's off its base at the moment. The models don't fit very well, even with the Prince's wings taken off. They're a bit awkward. In the middle, the Spawn tried to attack the Herald BSB, but didn't do anything with its actual attacks. But then, when the skeletons killed it, it fell over and squashed 2 of the skeletons, and then the rest of them have overrun into the Marauders. Warriors of Chaos turn 3 movement. Still can't get rid of the spiritual vortex. Failed to cast Demonic Vessel on the Prince. The Sorcerer has managed to put Fleshy Abundance on its unit and has put Wind of Chaos onto the Tomb Guard again. In the middle, the Marauders have +1 toughness thanks to Cult of the Carrion Crow, and the Chariot has charged into the front of the skeletons to help out, and the Shaggoth has made a charge into the flank of the unit as well. Shooting, failed to cast Doombolt or Blue Fire, but got a double 6 to cast Ruby Ring, but then it rolled a double 1 for the number of actual hits, so only killed 1 archer. The Shaggoth tried to use its Storm Call, but it got dispelled. End of the turn. In this combat, the skeletons killed 3 Marauders. Impact from the Chariot didn't do much, and the combined attacks of the Shaggoth, Marauders, and Chariot only killed a few, but then a few more crumbled when they lost the combat. The skeletons were disrupted by the Chariot and the flank charge. The Marauders and Chariot followed up, and the Shaggoth has reformed facing this way. Over here, surprisingly, the Necrosphinx missed with all its attacks and didn't wound with any stomps either. Then took 1 wound from the Prince. It lost combat and has given ground. Tomb King's turn 3 movement. The Priest cast Deathly Cabal on his unit and used Arise to bring back 7 of the skeleton spearmen. tried to use its hieratic jar as well to heal his own unit, but failed the leadership test even with the reroll from the BSB. Tried to cast Curse of Years on the Shaggoth, but failed that one. Over here, the Bone Dragon has charged into the side of the chariot. Shooting, Unquiet Spirits and Ruby Ring each put a wound on the Shaggoth, and bow shots shot at it as well, but didn't do any wounds to it. End of the Tomb King's turn. The fight between the Prince and the Necrosphinx, neither of them seemed to be able to hit each other. The Necrosphinx took one wound and put 2 wounds on the Prince with its stomps. The Prince lost another wound because of unstable, so it only has 1 left. In the centre, the Tomb King killed the chariot, and the skeletons killed 2 marauders. The rest of the marauders fled, but haven't gone very far. The marauders did manage to kill the Herald BSB, however. Warriors of Chaos turn 4. The sorcerer is now stupid. Rolled a 1 on Gaze of the Gods, re-rolled it with its favour, but got a 1 again. And forgot to mention Gaze of the Gods in previous turns, but the Prince now has 2 extra attacks. Managed to cast Wind of Chaos on the Tomb Guard again, which is really slowing them down. Still can't get rid of the Spiritual Vortex, and failed to cast Demonic Vessel on the Prince. The Shaggoth has charged into the Leash Priest and the archers. Shooting, the sorcerer put all 3 of its magic missiles into the skeletons and managed to kill 4 of them. Combat, yet another disastrous combat. The Shaggoth tried to put all its attacks into the Leash Priest as it's the Hierophant, but rolled a 1-1 to wound, so didn't do anything, and actually lost the combat. In this combat, neither of them did anything to each other. Despite having 7 attacks and an assailment, the Prince can't hit the Necrosphinx. And the Necrosphinx, with all its attacks and stomps, can't do anything either. Tomb King's turn 4. The King on Dragon has moved to here to get a good breath attack on the Marauders. The skeletons have moved back a bit. Over here, because of Wind of Chaos, the Tomb Guard didn't have enough movement to charge, but the Skeleton Horsemen have gone into the side of the Shaggoth. Cast Deathly Cabal here and used Arise to heal the wound on himself and bring back some of the archers as well. And tried to cast Curse of Years as well, but failed. Shooting, the Dragon's Breath weapon only killed 1 Marauder, but a few more died from Ruby Ring. They passed their panic test though. End of the combat. With all of their attacks and stomps and everything, they each only managed 1 wound to each other, which both got regens, so they did nothing and drew the combat again. Over here, the horsemen didn't wound the Shaggoth and took 4 in return, including 1 from the stable. They gave ground and the Shaggoth managed to restrain. Warriors of Chaos turn 5. Both the Sorcerer and Demon Prince rolled a 6 for their Gaze of the Gods, but the Sorcerer failed its stupidity, so it and the Warriors can't do anything this turn. The Shaggoth has charged back into the Leash Priest. They stood and shot but didn't do any wounds. First time this game, the Prince has managed to cast Demonic Vessel on himself. So, in this combat, the Demon Prince finally managed to kill the Necrosphinx and has intentionally overrun to try and get away a little bit. Importantly, in this combat here, the Shaggoth killed the Hierophant, so the rest of the army has now lost its regeneration. Tomb King's turn 5. Because the Hierophant died, the King has taken 2 wounds this turn, and the archers have been reduced to just 2 remaining. These 2 units have reformed slightly. The King tried to charge the Marauders, They passed their terror, but then chose to flee anyway. So they went through the warriors, and the king has charged into the warriors. End of the turn, the Shaggoth killed the last two archers, then reformed facing the tomb guard. And here, the champion challenged out the king. The champion died, but with static res, the warriors won combat. So the king took another 3 wounds and gave ground because of unstable. Warriors of Chaos turn 6. The sorcerer rolled a 1 for Gaze of the Gods, but was already stupid, which it passed this turn. Prince got another attack from Gaze of the Gods and cast Demonic Vessel on himself. So he currently has 9 Strength 8 attacks and has charged into the side of the horseman. Over here, the Shaggoth has gone into the side of the tomb guard. Shooting, magic missiles into the king managed to do 1 wound to it, and Doombolt went into the spearmen, killing 5 of them. Over here, the Shaggoth used Stormcall, which killed 1 tomb guard. Hit itself 3 times though, as well, but didn't take any damage and is now quickened. Combat, the prince was challenged out by the champion. Got a lot of overkill though and crumbled the rest of the unit, and has overrun, but just ended short of going into the tomb guard combat. The Shaggoth killed 4 tomb guards and then another one crumbled. End of the turn and end of the game. The king charged back into the warriors and killed 5. The warriors still managed to win combat, but only because of the musician breaking the tie. The king gave ground, but hasn't taken any more wounds, so is still over 25%. The Shaggoth did a few more wounds to the tomb guard, but not enough to change the state of the game. So the game's finished a draw, 1196 to 1192, so very close on points in the end. Thanks again to Michael for the game, and thanks for watching. More Old World content coming soon.